I have a little project tutorial thing to do today. It is making hand-dyed marbled tissue paper out of the Spectra bleeding art tissue. Enchanted Ink used to sell this years ago. It was very popular because it's just way cool. And I will, maybe while I'm rambling right now, I'll put some pictures up of some of the sheets that I made yesterday. It's easy to do, but it's a mess. So I'm outside. Things are blowing everywhere because it's always windy here, so that's what the rocks are for. And the reason I did this is because a friend had given me some old magazines, and some of them were Somerset Studio, and this was in one of those issues, and I can't remember which one. It was either the late 90s or early 2000s, but, you know, anyway, that was the instructions, and I ran across them again yesterday, so I pulled them out and decided to do it. Here's what you need. And of course, I kind of ignored part of the directions, which was both good and bad. I'll tell you about that. You're going to need some bleeding art tissue. Spectra is a brand. I don't know if there's other brands. I'm sure there probably are. The price varies, but under $10 you can get a good size package. And for the big stack of papers that I made yesterday, I used less than half of one kind of standard size package of Spectra art tissue. So a little bit goes a long way. But you're going to need some of that. Gloves would probably be a good idea. I didn't wear them yesterday and ended up looking a lot worse than this, and made a mental note to remember the gloves today and forgot them again. So there we have it. You're going to need some plain tissue. The recipe, or the instructions, called for just white tissue paper, which I have like, I don't know, 4 sheets maybe. But I thought, well, I'll just try some regular. I had some light colored pattern tissue paper I thought I would try. I don't know how that's going to work, but we're going to find out. I used some of this yesterday. This is some transfer paper, and it worked fine. And dress patterns, they work good too. So, that's it, other than some water. You need a squirt bottle, the kind where, it has the stream, you know, so you can get a concentrated shot of water. That's the best kind, so you need that. And that's about it. The instructions say to put some plastic wrap or some freezer paper or something on the floor, you know, to tape it down, and to do this on the floor, and which I think is probably necessary if you're going to do big sheets, because you can do big full-size sheets of this, but I don't need that. This is just collage paper for me, so I've got various sizes of papers, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So, let me get my little workspace ready, and we'll get started. Okay, I've got my stack of Spectra paper right here, cut down in manageable sizes. Beware of black, brown, and one of the purples. I don't think this one has that particular purple. Obviously the dark sheets are gonna make everything really dark. The lighter sheets, not so much. And I've got my stack of random plain tissue right here. Now, the way the instructions said to do it was really kind of confusing for me. I'll do one stack kind of the way the instructions said. But then I went kind of off the grid because I got tired of that. What you do is, and I'm going to just kind of spray the table a little bit so that my tissue sticks down. And that's just because I'm outside and it's windy. Okay. Lay down a plain sheet, and then it said to start layering your Spectra sheets one at a time in just any random order. I will just grab red. Spray some water. Random stream. You don't have to saturate the whole thing. This it's not going to bleed out all the way to the edge, and I'm okay with that. I don't care that my papers are not the same sizes, because this is just, you know, fun. And I'm going to add another one. I'm going to add this light blue. And I'll give it a little spray. Yeah, let's just keep going. Every once in a while, usually after I add a really dark color, then I'll go in and add another plain sheet. I'll put a plain one, just 'cause. And since these don't go all the way to the edge, sometimes you do get sort of a line of color that bothers you. Then make sure you cut all of your pages the same length and width, which would be the same size. Yeah. It doesn't bother me. I think it gives it an interesting look. So I'll just slap it on there. You can keep going. You can use your whole package of Spectra on this. You can use just a few sheets. You can use only certain color families if you want to, you know, only make blue paper. And that is what you do. Pick it up, turn it over. And I've been kind of wiping up my table, because you can make mud. I didn't think you could with this, but clearly you can, because I did it yesterday. I'm going to hit any spots that look like they need to be re-wet. Now what the instructions said to do at this point is to get your hairdryer out. I think they're assuming that you're doing this on your kitchen floor. Yeah, I'm not. Get your hairdryer out, start blowing the pages dry, and they'll start to lift, and then you just kind of let them lift and blow them dry as you go. Make sense? Yeah, makes sense. Okay, I'm not pulling my hairdryer out here. I'm outside, so these are going to start drying pretty quick anyway. So I just kind of set them aside and let them dry. Got some little rocks right here. I'll hold them down, and normally I'm using the rocks because I'm filming. Normally I don't use the rocks. I just line this whole icky plastic tablecloth with all these papers, and as they dry, they will peel up and fly off. And as soon as they fly across the yard and hit my fence line, then I know they're done. That's how I check for doneness. But now, if you want to do just certain colors, then you can do that. Just going to wet this down so my tissue will stick. Let's use this one. Oh, and see, that's already got a hole in it, and a lot of these papers, I will rip them as I'm messing with them, and I'm fine with that. They're collage papers, so when I use them, I'm probably going to tear them anyway. So I'm perfectly okay with tearing them while I make them. You know, not a big deal for me. Yeah. And this is pretty pearly paper. I'll put that on top. Ooh, I don't know if that one's going to work. It's coated on one side. It may not absorb. I'm not sure. You don't want it just like sopping wet. That, in fact, is probably a little bit too wet. But you do want to make sure that you don't have any dry spots, unless you want dry spots. If you want some plain areas in your tissue and If you want, you know, those, then heck, leave dry spots. I don't particularly want those right now. So when you get some, let's say they're kind of, it's not good, kind of dark, but not very interesting. They just don't have a lot of pattern in them. And there's a couple things you can do. These are some Spectra sheets from yesterday that still have some color in them, but they weren't really pretty enough to call them completed sheets. So I'm going to use some of those, and then I'm going to take some of my little pitiful plain Janes right here and see what I can come up with. These are kind of light, so I don't know if those will work, but these should. And you just take your little sprayer and drizzle. You can make large blooms by drizzling puddles, or just make little small disease-looking splotches. And then we'll let those dry, and what that does, it just bleeds out some of the dye from the tissue. It just thins it out only in those areas, and that's what makes it look that way. Also, while you're doing this, if you want to add some different colors, you can. If I can get some orange out of this one. There we go. So see, you can kind of be a little more intentional and add color instead of just piling them together totally random. Now I'm going to take this red one and put it on top of the orange one, and let the two of them, you know, kind of get to know each other. Am I out of my filming range? I probably am. Let's let these dry for a little bit, and then I'll come back and we'll see what we have. Before I went in for lunch, I put a few more sheets down, some pages that just kind of needed some help. They were boring, and I think everything's pretty much dry now. The sun's trying to come out, so I really want to finish up before it gets unbearably hot. I just love that mottled, you know, diseased look. Oh, this one's pretty. I love that. This is the one that we kind of just laid the yellow tissue, I mean not the yellow, but the orange tissue on it. Just added a little bit of extra interest. Oh, well, that did turn out kind of cool. That was that pearly one that I was afraid wouldn't do much. It's kind of neat. Do I like the white areas? You know what? For this one, I do, because it's kind of light color, pastel-y. I'm leaving it. I like that. And I tend to lay my sheets right next to each other so they bleed onto each other, and I'm fine with that. This is the stack where we just used all of the colors kind of randomly, remember? Oh, that's interesting. This reminds me a lot of, you know, I love to do that thing with the Citrusol on National Geographic pages, and you know how you never know what you're going to get? This is kind of the same thing. Okay, look at this one. This had the roses printed on the other side. So yeah, I'm thinking light colored printed tissue works just fine. That's kind of cool looking. These are not bleeding tissues. They're just regular gift wrap tissue. I don't know if they'll bleed some, if they'll bleed none, if what they will do, I'm not sure. But I want to find out. And you know what? Let's just kind of tear. Okay. These are the non-bleeding tissues. Ooh, those rocks are hot. Hot rocks. I think I'm just going to layer these with some plain tissue and some spectra tissue, and we'll just see what happens. I'm trying to see if this bleeds at all. It does a little bit. Very light. This might be good for making pastel colors or something. Yeah, it's really light, but it does bleed. Okay, interesting. You know what? Let's be adventurous. Let's use some brown, which will either look awesome or just throw everything off. It could go either way. Put that one there. Okay. Let's see what this does. Okay, let's see what can be done with some of these papers from our last batch that were just a little bit too orange. I know some of these are going to be out of frame for you, but I think you get the idea of how this is done. So, I'm just kind of playing some more now. This is just kind of, let's see what happens when we do this. Because I love that. Stream of water. And now, some that needed more color. This is going to give them all that kind of that pox look that I like, but some of them needed more than just that. Oh, FYI, when you've got your hands full because the wind is blowing and your papers are blowing everywhere, you've got bleeding tissue in one hand, you've got river rocks in another hand, you've got your elbow on a stack of papers. Don't put this in your mouth to temporarily hold it while you try to shuffle your papers. I'm just saying, not a good idea. It bleeds not only with water, but with spit too. The dark red and the light red. You know what? Fold these in half. I don't know why. I'm just going to, okay? Just deal with it. Made the decision and I did it, okay? Now I think we need some top sheets to kind of soak up some of the excess. This is actually a really light pinky peachy sheet. I'm just gonna totally break all the rules and put it on top. And you may be thinking, why did she not wait until a less windy day to do this? Well, if you're thinking that, you are not from Texas. There is no less windy day. This is actually kind of day that we hope for on the windy days. We have wind all the time, every day for no good reason, except right before a really bad storm. There's no wind at all, and that is our clue that something is really, really wrong. If the wind stops blowing, then we worry. As long as it blows like a banshee, we're fine. This is going to dry in like no time flat. I don't know how this is going to work out because of the wind. They're all kind of puffy and not really, you know, sandwiched down flat. I'm going to add more water than I normally would because of that and because it is drying so fast. Oh, these are kind of cool. Can you see what's happened? You know what? I think instead of taking them off, I'm going to put another layer on top. What do you think? Shall we? Let's do it. Put some more sheets down here and there for some more color. Wet them a little bit, and then we'll call it done. Can you tell that the wind has died down a little bit now that it's gotten really hot and you would want a breeze? There is none to be found. I'm really loving these. This is a good little idea if you're on a budget and you're really wanting to make some really cool background papers. For $10 you can get a package of Spectra art tissue and a package of plain white tissue paper. You can get that at the Dollar Tree. And just go to town.